Well, they're using Canva. It's Jordan. Jordan was she was a woman so it's that I just showed. And then page. So it's today, so I don't know. See that? Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for breaking my arm. Yeah, this is, we have to look at this, right? So
You must, you have to, yes.
I'm beginning to think you can't talk democracy anymore.
Yeah, right?
Thank you, guys. I was voice. I do.
What, 8 years? What, you wrote this in 2024?
Well, it was released back in 24, and people back in 25, but originally released in 1994.
All right, nothing changed.
So,
Yeah, you wrote it?
I did.
Oh, okay, we're waiting for the next one.
There wasn't AI back then, so
Do we know it's written?
So are you leaving
I don't know how to
just
use
to
it
do
now, do
this
you?
that they're saying they're not gonna be saying?
No?
No, they're gonna
Wow.
see.
Just be careful of this,
Oh.
Yeah.
Allison.
So usually when I give a little introduction.
Yes,
And
So
then,
they are currently saying.
so this is your laptop?
Who?
Yes.
Allison.
So you want-
What about Allison?
So if I
She had
can-
this guy in there.
I'm gonna put this
I'm
down
trying
and
to
then,
understand.
but it's gonna slide down. Here, hold on a
You
second.
can leave it, you can leave it there.
You'll have to hold
He
it.
would stand himself.
Yeah, this
This
is,
this slide.
oh, I see what you're saying,
It's
because
just-
it's slick.
Allison
Well,
too.
actually-
Oh, Allison on radio? Ah. Oh.
Is that,
I'll sit in the front row and come
be
up.
very careful.
Oh, can we do the little ladder for her so we don't have to change the camera?
I'll just.
Isn't there a step stool over here?
No, I just tilted it. I can do it. I'll stay up
Well,
there.
wouldn't it be easier for her to just get off so you don't have to worry about anything?
It
yeah.
should be right under there.
Under the bench?
Yeah.
Or under the? Oh, here, there it is. Yes.
That's unsteady one, but that's
Yeah,
the
I
yellow
think
one,
this
the
is-
white one.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay.
Good to see you.
So good to see you.
You wanna do this one?
Yeah, that's a little bit bigger.
Unfortunately, Ananya cannot make it today because she had like an upcoming family obligation.
Have you met Michelle? I know you
Oh
met her
yeah,
on
yeah, it's so
Zoom.
good to
right?
it's so nice to meet you in
Right,
person.
she was telling me you're
No,
up
I
so
think
late
we
at
met,
night.
didn't we meet at the park? Weren't you at the
No,
park?
no,
No, I don't
no.
think so.
I met you before here then, because I think we met.
Really?
Just
I
on
don't-
Zoom,
Yeah,
maybe
just on
on
Zoom,
Zoom.
I think.
Oh, maybe on Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, here,
Yeah.
try this one.
Try this one,
It's a little steadier and bigger.
okay? Everybody in the back can hear me? Like this? Okay.
I know, I'm trying to find anything else.
Makes me look tall, right?
Technical comments.
So Mike is this.
You know when it starts, people aren't gonna be.
All right, I have to get out and talk you through it.
What else can you do? If I log in, can you make me a co-host?
There's a little thing that says join Zoom meeting. It's in blue. You'll see join the Zoom meeting, and then there's a Zoom connection.
Do that. Thank you.
It's just that we're trying to do so many things.
Yes, hit that. Yes, hit that.
What's that? Is that you? Are you?
What's this? Oh, no, no. No, it should be inside.
Oh, here you are. Okay.
You had Zoom? Yeah, I mean.
Is it in alphabetical order? Yeah.
Can I get started now?
No, no, just 1 minute. What time is it?
Need to go post. Okay, you need to mute yourself.
Up here. The Brockway Parkville? All right,
What? Hey, all right, well, you know what, I don't care.
Oh, you know what? Yeah.
So I had these people sitting there and it looks as though they're getting ready to talk. I think I'll see it from the floating reactions. I should get rid of that, no?
right, guys, let's go.
Michelle, will you be able to monitor the chat? Will you be able to monitor the chat? How's that gonna work?
Because I'm using my phone at the same time. Let's see. 7:04.
Okay.
Can we start? Can we start? Okay, welcome to everyone. Thank you all for making the time to join us tonight at Let's Talk Democracy. This is our first event in this new series, 2025-26, and we are here in community, in person, and online to hear Sam Daly Harris talk about transformational advocacy, citizens awakening to their power. So get ready for an inspiring story and to leave here feeling empowered to make a difference. I wish to especially thank Reverend Jeff Corder for hosting us here at the First Presbyterian Church of Forest Hills for our local community gathering place, and for providing us with the Zoom and YouTube links to connect with our online audience. There's a donation box in the back if you care to leave any money for the church. We're grateful to Jeff for that. My name is Ida Masana. I am a retired physician and founder of Let's Talk Democracy. As many of you know, Let's Talk Democracy was born after the 2016 election when Trump won his first term. I knew little about history or government at that time, but I suddenly became aware that some serious shift was happening in our country. And now, with Trump too, we are witnessing and experiencing an especially scary, confusing, and difficult time. It's certainly not 2016 anymore, and there is an all-pervasive fear atmosphere. I just got back from Portugal, which went through 40 years of a brutal dictatorship with political police, censorship, arrests, imprisonment, disappearances, and the like. I went to a museum there about that period, and I could not help see the parallels to what we are going through here and now. Nothing we are seeing now is new. Our current leaders are following a well-worn playbook of many dictators before. There is nothing inevitable about this unless we, the people, do nothing. Let's Talk Democracy 2.0 has chosen to become a more strident defender of democracy to meet this moment. We have renewed our commitment to our guiding mission, which remains to educate people about our government, encourage dialogue about the basic foundations of our democracy, and empower citizens to make our voices heard. If you are here tonight, you know that sitting by idly is not really an option. We all have limited time and resources. How do we engage in something meaningful and effective? This is actually our challenge. Our speaker tonight has decades of experience leading and coaching volunteer advocacy groups and has created an indispensable guide to engaged citizenship. Reclaiming Our Democracy, revised for 2025. Each of us has to figure out what we can do to make our voices heard, individually and as a community, to create the kind of neighborhoods and country we want to live in and leave to our children and grandchildren. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. Time to take out your calendars and save the dates. There's a lot going on that you will want to plug into. First off, on October 18th, Let's Talk Democracy is working in coalition with several local grassroots groups to organize our second Queens Says No Kings rally and march on October 18th. The first Queens Rally March we had back in June drew almost 2,000 enthusiastic people in the rain. We will be meeting at McDonald Park at 10 a.m. and marching down Queens Boulevard. It will be a peaceful, family-friendly event to show our solidarity with our immigrant neighbors and in support of science, education, healthcare, the post office, Social Security, and all the services we take for granted and depend on that are now suddenly and inconceivably all being dismantled. We need all hands on deck. So if you are new and you'd like to help out with this event, making signs or whatever, please contact me. And in any case, plan to join us with all your friends, neighbors, and family members October 18th at 10 a.m. The educational programs of Let's Talk Democracy continue next month on Thursday, October 23rd, when we will be hosting one of our favorites, Ben Yee, to guide us through the very important upcoming municipal elections in New York City and New York State. This event will be in person at the Forest Hills Library and will not be recorded. On Thursday, November 20th, on Zoom, we will host Joan Williams, law professor at UC San Francisco and author of the book Outclassed, about the challenge of engaging the working class as we approach the 2026 elections. On Thursday, December 11th, we will be back at the library in person with Laura Rakovich, former director of the Queens Museum, who resigned under pressure from the first Trump administration, and author of the book Culture Strike, to talk about the role of museums and artists in a time of political turmoil. So that's October 18th, October 23rd, November 20th, and December 11th. Hope you can join us for a really packed and interesting season, and as usual, spread the word. All invited, always free, and if you are new and would like to receive notices of our upcoming programs, please drop me a line and I will be happy to add you to our email list. Our website is www.letstalkdemocracy.org. Can you put that in the chat too? Yeah. Thanks. So now let me introduce our speaker for tonight. Several months ago, Jonathan Rees, one of Let's Talk Democracy's most ardent supporters, suggested I read Reclaiming Our Democracy by Sam Daly Harris when we were talking about Let's Talk Democracy 2.0. I read it and was just blown away. Mr. Daley Harris will tell his own story, his why, but let me just say, I found the book both inspiring and challenging. I was thrilled when he agreed to come in person to speak to us. We are at a moment when we need to hear his message. Sam Daley Harris was born in Miami and got his undergrad and master's degree in music at the University of Miami. As a fellow music major, I find this part of his biography particularly compelling. He started out as a professional percussionist for 12 years with the Miami Philharmonic Orchestra. He knew how to set the beat and come in with a bang. At some point, he got inspired to take on that simple problem of eradicating world hunger. In 1980, he founded Results, an international citizens lobbying group dedicated to creating the political will to end hunger and poverty. He did this through impressive recruitment, community building, and coaching of volunteers here and abroad through a method he calls transformational advocacy. We are here tonight in an inspiring masterclass to learn how Mr. Daley Harris, comfortable being part of the orchestra, uses his decades of experience to promote engaged citizenship. He went about the country creating community leaders in civic courage by giving them the skills and support to do hard work. How do we stay grounded in purpose rather than fear and upset? How can we move from feeling powerless to being powerful? He says, together, we can champion our rights, freedoms, rule of law, democracy, hold our leaders accountable to the people's will, and inspire voters to make a meaningful difference. I think the key word there is together. We hope for a lively discussion after the presentation, especially focusing on how we can meet this critical moment. As always, please remember our rules of engagement. Be respectful of others and their point of view. No picture taking of participants without permission. Raise your hand and wait to be recognized by the moderator. 2-minute limit. Keep comments short and focused. Don't interrupt. Avoid making generalizations or assumptions. Use I statements and speak from your own experience. And no personal attacks. And now please join me in welcoming Sam Daley Harris, Transformational Advocacy, Citizens Awakening to Their Power.
You don't need this.
No. Hi, everyone. Thank you to Ida for that wonderful introduction. And I'm going to just get myself set up here, sorry. This is my 115th in-person or Zoom talk, or this one's combined, in the last 21 months. So I'm actually thrilled to be here. I came across state lines from New Jersey, and I'll be going back there tonight. Again, thank you to Ida, to Michelle, to Pastor Jeff, and the entire Let's Talk Democracy team. Thank you to Jonathan for recommending that Ida invite me to speak. And thanks to everyone who's here in person or online, or maybe watching the recording of this event. Thanks so much. Just after the election last November, I sent an email to hundreds of journalists. I'm going to read excerpts from that email. It'll be on the screen. For many Americans, last November's election has delivered exhaustion and divisiveness. After the election, Tom Nichols wrote in The Atlantic, "Americans must stay engaged and make their voices heard at every turn." Liz Cheney tweeted, "Citizens across this country must now be the guardrails of democracy." But most Americans still wonder how and even if we can make a difference between elections. What are the options? Protesting? Important, really important. But we also need people going inside. 2, signing email form letters that only 3% of congressional staff say is highly effective. Often gestures. 3, taking a 2-year nap until the next election. Sadly, the preferred choice for too many. But few in your audience, I wrote the journalist, know about number 4, transformational advocacy, which helps you change an issue and changes you in the process. This book, I wrote them, includes stories of people who met with their elected officials on the other side of their issue, like Ellie Sparks, who went from experiencing what she called climate trauma to meeting with her members of Congress and calling the experience sacred and profound. I'm going to tell her story a little more at length later. Sacred and profound, and people like Lisa Jordan, who after meeting with congressional offices in Washington, D.C. said, "This work is the best medicine for when you're feeling hopeless or have sleepless nights. It's the best way to avoid despair." Both Ellie and Lisa were talking about their experience with transformational advocacy, the focus of this presentation. In this presentation, I'll provide a powerful way to make a difference and heal our democracy in the process. It's not the only solution needed, but is one essential missing piece: citizens awakening to their power. So I'm going to start right now with my story of self. Raise your hand if you know the phrase story of self, us and now. Okay, so the story of self, us and now actually, was developed by Marshall Gans, a professor at Harvard. And it basically asks, what happened in your life and what decisions did you make that got you to this commitment? So when I tell my story of self, I urge you to think about yours. What happened in your life and what decisions did you make that got you to this event, for example, and your other commitments in life? So Ida spilled the beans a little bit, but this is my story of self. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in music, and I played percussion instruments in the Miami Philharmonic Orchestra for 12 years and taught high school music. And then 45 years ago, I founded the Anti-Poverty Lobby. Results in a lot of times I'm asked, music, poverty lobby, what's the connection? And when I look back in my life, there's certain experiences that point me in a different direction. The death of a friend around high school graduation day in 1964, and the assassination of US Senator Robert Kennedy around college graduation day in 1968 got me to asking the questions of purpose. Why am I here? What am I here to do? What's my purpose? 9 years later, it's now 1977, I'm invited to a presentation on ending world hunger put on by the Hunger Project. And I go to this event thinking, well, hunger's inevitable. What do I know? I'm a musician. I'm thinking it's inevitable because there must be no solutions. Again, what do I know? Because if there were solutions, somebody would have done something by now. But I go to this event and it's obvious right away, there's no mystery to growing food, clean water, basic health, literacy. I'm not hopeless about the perceived lack of solutions. I'm hopeless about human nature. People will just never get around to doing the things that can be done. But there's one human nature I have some control over, my own, and my questions, why am I here? What am I here to do? So I get involved in a big way. This is the end of the story. In 1978 and 1979, I spoke to 7,000 high school students, classroom by classroom, on ending world hunger. And before I went into the first classroom, I read some statements from Jimmy Carter's Commission on World Hunger and others calling for the political will to end hunger. So I asked 7,000 high school students, what's the name of your member of Congress? Now, these high school students are now in their 60s. In 1978, I asked them, what's the name of your member of Congress? Out of 7,000 asked, 200, fewer than 3%, could answer correctly. 6,800, over 97%, could not tell me the name of their member of Congress, and results grew out of this gap between the calls for the political will to end hunger on the one hand, and the lack of basic information on who represents us in Washington on the other. So that's my story. What happened in your life and what decisions did you make that got you to your commitment? It's also referred to knowing your why and sharing it. And so I urge you to think about what's your story of self, what happened in your life, and what decisions did you make that got you to your commitment. Okay, so sometimes I'm asked, why did you reissue this book? Why did you update it and reissue this book? It was originally written in 1994, Reclaiming Our Democracy, Healing the Break Between People and Government. And now the title is Reclaiming Our Democracy, Every Citizen's Guide to Transformational Advocacy. And the answer to the question is why I re-released it is found in this question. I was interviewed on 1A. It's an NPR program that I think doesn't come to New York City, but it goes to 350 radio stations around the United States. It's really widely listened to, national. And this was question number 2. Listen to what this radio journalist said to me on national radio. He said, the passive nature to our politics now, you can feel beat down by it. I mean, this is my career and I feel beat down by it. It's much more of an effort for me. I don't participate the same way others do because I'm a political journalist, but I do have to pay attention. It's a grind. I was like blown away that this guy was being so vulnerable on national. It's a grind. It's a grind, Sam. I mean, I know you know that. What am I feeling? What's the way out of that? I mean, he was speaking for the nation, basically. This was last year. The first thing I said to him was, Apollo astronaut Rusty Schweickart said, we aren't passengers on Spaceship Earth. We're the crew. Well, are we? And if we are, how does crew operate? The second thing I said was, futurist and climate activist Alex Steffens said, in fact, these days, cynicism is obedience. Well, yeah, if I'm cynical, I'm obedient to the way things are. I'm not going to do anything about it. Why would I if nothing I do makes a difference? So this talk is primarily about transformational advocacy, not transactional, sign the petition, complete, but transformational advocacy where you're trained, encouraged, and succeed at doing things as an advocate you never thought you could do, like meet with a member of Congress and bring them on board to your issue. And when you do those things you thought you couldn't do, you see yourself differently. That's the transformation in who you see yourself to be. And we'll go to the next slide. I'm going to skip this slide we're not getting. I'm going to go to the next one after that. The Congressional Management Foundation, listen up. The Congressional Management Foundation asked nonprofit advocacy professionals, advocacy staff of organizations, what their primary tactic was. And 79% said their primary tactic was an email form letter. You know, give me your name and your zip code, and we'll send the email letter for you. 79% said their primary tactic was an email form letter. But only 3% of congressional staff said an email form letter was highly effective. 94% of congressional staff said that in-person issue visits from constituents, that's us, in-person issue visits from constituents is either highly effective or effective. So this is a key part. So we're really not getting the training we need. Now I'm going to the sign-up sheet. I don't know if you're looking for where I am. At the end of the talk, during Q&A, I'm going to pass around a sign-up sheet. I'm going to describe it now so it's a little less mysterious. You're free, of course, to sign up for nothing, no problem. But if you want to sign up for something, it'll ask for your name and zip code. It'll ask for your email address. And then it'll ask if you'd like to be connected to an organization that works to deliver transformational advocacy. You'll learn more about that in a moment. And one is Results, the group I founded on global and domestic poverty. Another is Citizens Climate Lobby on climate change. Another is the Quaker Lobby, Friends Committee on National Legislation. Another is the United Church of Christ. I just started coaching the United Church of Christ Climate Hope affiliates this year. And the last option there is Catholic Relief Services on global poverty. So if you'd like to be connected, you could check yes or no. And if you would, it'd be better if you could name one group for me to connect to you with and not all 5. It would just be helpful. If you know of a speaking possibility, I'm going for my 116th, you could say yes. And if you'd like to be added to the Civic Courage mailing list, you could also let me know that. First story, Maxine Thomas. This is Maxine Thomas with her U.S. Senator Todd Young, Republican of Indiana. I'm going to give you an avalanche of Republicans. So this is not a selfie. These two are buddies and they work together on issues. Maxine said to me, I had a heart for service, but I was clueless about advocacy, especially political advocacy. Maxine has a lived experience of poverty. She joined a group called Circles, where folks get together for 14 weekly sessions to work their way out of poverty. And in her group, they realized they had a story to tell. And so they Googled around for organizations that could help them tell their story. And she found Results. She eventually gets a scholarship to go to a Results conference in DC, where she'd have her first ever meetings with her members of Congress. The night before those meetings with Congress, she learns that the Earned Income Tax Credit is about to expire. And the Earned Income Tax Credit in 2022 was $3,100 for a low-income working family. So this is Maxine talking to me in the book. I've transcribed it on the slides, and she said, quote, "The first meeting on Lobby Day was with Senator Dan Coates, Republican of Indiana, and brought new ahas. He was there for the entire meeting. I can still feel it. I was a ball of emotions. It felt like an out-of-body experience. I was processing being in DC, and now I'm in an exclusive meeting. We're all dressed up. It was high level. The volunteers were polished and sharp, but I was scared." Yeah, that's most people on their first ever meeting face to face with their Senate, but I was scared and worried whether I would say the right thing. I think it was Lisa who said, "Would you like to say anything?" I thanked the senator and said, "I learned last night why I'm here. I didn't know I could come here from Indianapolis to talk to you, someone who represents us and can help us. I can't imagine what will happen if the Earned Income Tax Credit is taken away from families like mine. I'm able to take a deep breath and catch up on my bills because of the Earned Income Tax Credit. I look forward to tax time because that's the only time I can handle my financial burden. I like to take my kids to the mall to buy shoes without worrying if it'll take away from other bills." Senator Coates straightened himself up and said, "Wow, this has been emotional. Results, you do a good job of training people. Where did you find her?" And then he thanked me. That was the year he retired. He was very connected, even though the Earned Income Tax Credit wasn't on his radar. He acknowledged my voice and thanked me for being there. End of quote. After a full day of first ever congressional meetings, Maxine Thomas said, "I was euphoric. I was on this high and felt I was part of something revolutionary." That is transformational advocacy, from I was clueless to I was euphoric. And so the question is, how do you find organizations that are committed to delivering transformational advocacy? What do you look for? So I've simplified it to three things. One, Recruitment and community building. The organization brings new people in, not to build an e-blast list, but to form them into local chapters so they're not working alone. That's the recruitment. And the community building is, for example, these organizations have a monthly whole of organization webinar with guest speakers and Q&A and inspiration and action items. Recruitment and community building. 2, training. I am really thrilled to be here tonight. I just want to tell you that. Sorry. 2, training. How do you get the meeting with the elected? How do you plan for the meeting? What do you ask for in the meeting? How do you write a letter to the editor? How do you write an op-ed? 2, training. The 3, breakthroughs. The organization encourages its members to move out of their comfort zone and have breakthroughs. There's a drawing in the book. You go to the circles in a moment right now. There's a small circle, go to the next slide, labeled your comfort zone. And next to the small circle is a much larger circle labeled where the magic happens. And so you're looking for an organization that doesn't kick you out, but encourages you out of your comfort zone over to where the magic happens. So, okay, so it makes a difference for people, but does it change an issue? Is there any progress because of this transformational advocacy? Over the last 41 years, Results volunteers have played a lead advocacy role in a nearly 66% decline in global child deaths, saving almost 10 million young lives a year globally compared to the early 1980s. In 1983, when we started lobbying in 84, UNICEF, the UN Children's Fund, was reporting 40,000 child deaths a day from largely preventable malnutrition and disease, things like measles, coupled with malnutrition. And over the last 41 years, global child death rates fallen from 40,000 a day to 13,125 a day in 2023. It should be corrected there. Here's evidence that Results' efforts played a key advocacy role in the 66% decline. After Results volunteers generated 90 editorials in newspapers in 1986, supporting a tripling of the Child Survival Fund for vaccinations, UNICEF Executive Director Jim Grant said in a handwritten note to Results, "I thank you in my mind at least weekly, if not more often, for what you and your colleagues are accomplishing, but I thought I should do it at least once this year in writing." 27 years later, in a New York Times interview in 2013, former UNICEF Deputy Executive Kul Gautam said, quote, "To a great extent, it was because of the receptivity created by Results that the US funding for child survival increased so dramatically, and that led many other countries to come on board." And 9 years later, in 2022, Peter Sands, the head of the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria, said this on one of Results' monthly webinars, quote, "I know how powerful your voices and efforts are. We see that in the way you go up on Capitol Hill and talk to people from both sides of the aisle. They're hearing from across North America that you care about this. This is one of the most powerful ways America leads the world." Imagine being part of an organization that's played a lead advocacy role in what's amounted to a 66% decline in global child deaths. Font change. Then Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and Marco Rubio entered with their demolition derby to global health programs. But there is a glimmer of hope. The fiscal year 2026 starts October 1st. Maternal and child health, which one of the drivers of this reduction in global child deaths, is funded this year at $915 million. For next year, President Trump proposed a cut of over 90% to $85 million. The House Appropriations Committee, not the Democrats, the House Appropriations Committee on July 23rd appropriated $915 million. Now, on total global health, This year is 10.03 billion. President Trump called for a cut to 3.79, but the House Appropriations, not the Democrats, the House Appropriations Committee approved 9.52 billion. It has to go to the Senate next and then be signed into law. Yeah, so let me just go on. New story. I'm going back in history. In 2019, President Trump called for a 29% cut to the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, which at that point had saved 38 million lives since its launch in 2002. It was time for a Global Fund 3-year replenishment, and many other nations would follow the US lead. Now, most people, if they learned that President Trump called for a 29% cut, would throw up their hands. What can you do? You can't fight City Hall. Or most people didn't even know about this. The people I know roll up their sleeves and they got to work. They got hundreds of members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, to sign resolutions in the House and Senate supporting the Global Fund, to sign letters to the Secretary of State and the top appropriators. What do these revolutionary volunteer advocates look like? Would you guys look around the room if you want to see what these volunteer advocates look around? This is what they look like. And they also look like Margaret Smith of Dallas, Texas, seen here with her Senator Ted Cruz. And she said, I learned in results that I hold Senator Cruz's hands with 2 hands, and I don't let go until I finish my laser talk on the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. That was the first year Senator Cruz ever said yes to a results request. He co-sponsored the Senate resolution supporting the Global Fund. Next slide. Instead of President Trump's proposed 29% cut, 2 House Republicans and 2 House Democrats stood on a stage in Lyon, France at the Global Fund replenishment and announced that the Congress would provide a 16% increase instead, which President Trump signed into law. By 2023, the Global Fund partnership had saved more than 65 million lives since 2002. Where in the newspaper do you read about 65 million lives saved? Okay, why don't you skip the next photo. Does anyone here know Margaret Smith? I do. She's a spitfire. Okay. Senator Cruz has to watch out. Okay. But then again, Musk, Trump, and Rubio entered with their demolition derby to global health programs. But there's a glimmer of help. For fiscal year 2026, right now, the Global Fund to fight AIDS, TB, and malaria is funded at $1.65 billion. President Trump's budget for 2026 calls for a cut to $800 million. But the House Appropriations Committee, not the Democrats, the House Appropriations Committee agreed to $1.5 billion. It now goes to the Senate for their action. And let me just say one other thing. This doesn't come out of nothing. I mean, we lobby on this every year. Earlier this year, 2 House Republicans and 3 House Democrats led in getting 160 members of the House to sign a letter to the top appropriators for this, urging robust funding for the Global Fund to fight AIDS, TB, and malaria. Next story, Ellie Sparks. This is Ellie Sparks. When she told me this story, she was a volunteer with Citizens Climate Lobby. Now she's on staff. She said, when I joined Citizens Climate Lobby, I was suffering from climate trauma. I would read Bill McKibben's book, Earth, and I would weep at home, and I would weep at work. And then I joined CCL, and 18 months later, I was co-leading a workshop on getting relationships with members of Congress and editorial writers. She said, our executive director says, we're betting the farm on relationships. Now go get a relationship with your members of Congress. She said, what in the world does a relationship with a member of Congress looks like, and how do you get a relationship with an editorial writer? She said some in the organization use the model of a work relationship. Now, this is Ellie speaking in the book, and I've transcribed it onto these slides. And you can go to the next one. She said, hold on to your hats. She said, my relationship model is different. I adore romantic relationships, so I use romance as my model. That first meeting with the editorial writer, it's like a blind date, only you've decided beforehand you're going to marry this fellow. Now, she was in Richmond, Virginia, with the Richmond Times-Dispatch at the time, and her congressman was Eric Cantor at the time, Republican of Virginia. It's like a blind date, only you've decided beforehand you're going to marry this fellow. You're going to be sweet and interesting, not too intense. If it doesn't work with the editorial writer, you're going to marry one of his friends at the newspaper, the business editor. Who talks like this? The business editor, environment writer, city editor. Someone at this paper will find you interesting and compelling. It's just a matter of being persistent until you find the right connection. I see the relationship with a member of Congress as an arranged marriage. If you live in their district, your member's aide has to meet with you. That's what our congressperson's legislative director told us in January. Now, she's speaking in July, 7 months later. She says, since January, we've met 5 times. Since January, we've met 5 times with the legislative director. We schedule 45-minute meetings. He keeps us well over an hour. He doesn't want us to leave. Why? Because a good arranged marriage starts out cold and slowly heats up. That's different than a love match, which starts out hot and slowly cools down. Then Ellie shares the essence of transformational advocacy. Quote, during our conference, I met with 20 congressional offices over 4 days. I met with many folks whose view of the world was very different than mine. Going into their offices was hard. I had to let go of a lot of emotional baggage. I could no longer judge them or hold hostility in my heart toward them. I had to let go of my fear of climate change and my fear that they wouldn't listen to me. I had to center myself in love. Releasing fear and centering in love. This is sacred and profound work. End of quote. Who thinks about advocacy as being sacred and profound? Obviously, it can become that if you find the right organization and open yourself up to it. So last bits, I'm going to have a couple of more slides and a great photo. When I work with a group that's meeting with a member of Congress who opposes their bill, I have them ask the member of Congress 3 questions. 1, we know you don't support this bill. What would it take to change your mind? You're listening for assignments. What would it take to change your mind? 2, could you say more about that? 3, why do you think that is? So it's a deep listening exercise. Some have used questions like this to get the first Republican and first Democrat to lead a House Climate Solutions Caucus, which was launched in 2016. I usually had a photo and a little story about that, but I have a new photo. This next photo is from September 1st this year, 18 days ago. It's a photo of 25 Citizen Climate Lobby volunteers on a 3.5-hour hike with their Republican U.S. Senator John Curtis of Utah, who took Mitt Romney's spot in Congress. And on his knees in the middle in the light blue t-shirt is Senator John Curtis of Utah. And the volunteer who kind of heads this up, I called him in August, and he said, our hike with Curtis is in September 1st. It's going to be 3.5 hours. I said, how did this thing start? He said, well, when Curtis was elected in 2017, when Trump took office in 2017, then Congressman Curtis announced he was having a 8-hour town hall meeting hike. And 8 people showed out for the town hall meeting 8-hour hike. 6 of them from Citizens Climate Lobby. The next year, the majority were from Citizens Climate Lobby, and he promised their own private hike every year. So this year, he's their senator, not their congressperson. And this was a photo from that hike. On the first hike in 2017, someone said to him, "What are you going to do about carbon?" And he said, "I was the mayor of Provo, Utah. I never thought about carbon." And he starts thinking about these issues, etc. In 2022, he founded the Conservative Climate Caucus. At the end of last year, it had 87 Republicans on it, some of them BS and some of them serious and also maybe afraid of Trump. But it's one example of. So this is the end. So I'm going to pass this sign-up sheet after. I'm going to close with a quote. And if you sign up for something, and it's fine not to sign up for anything, I'm asking for your name and zip code, your email address. Oh, please print, because I then have to transcribe all this. And then if you'd like to be connected to a group, and hopefully you could bring lessons back to Let's Talk Democracy, I'm asking you to check yes or no, but list an organization, preferably not 5, 4, 3, maybe 2, but preferably 1. Results on global and domestic poverty, Citizens Climate Lobby on climate, the Quaker Lobby on advancing peace issues, the United Church of Christ Climate Hope Affiliates, and Catholic Relief Services on global poverty. If you know of a speaking opportunity, a class you're teaching, or a club you're in, or a place of worship, you can let me know that. And if you'd like to be added to the Civic Courage mailing list, I'll pass it out in just a moment. I'm closing with this quote. It's from George. You can go to the next one. George Bernard Shaw's Man and Superman. I'm going to read it twice, and then we're done and go to Q&A. Who knows this quote? Okay, here goes. This is the true joy in life, the being used for a purpose, recognized by yourself as a mighty one, the being a force of nature, instead of a selfish, feverish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch which I've got hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. Once more, this is the true joy in life, the being used for a purpose, recognized by yourself as a mighty one, the being a force of nature, instead of a selfish, feverish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. End of quote. Thank you for your commitment to making that torch burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. I'm going to pass this around. I'll put one over here. And so now we're to questions
Yes.
and comments.
For those who are online and can't sign up on the sheets here, the link to his digital form is on the Let's Talk Democracy website under the events tab, underneath the entry for this event tonight.
Yep.
If you have a question online, you can either raise your hand on the Zoom, write it in the chat box, and we're going to alternate with people who are here at the church. Everybody heard that?
Oh, do you need to be up here to say that? What, you want to come up and?
All right, so anybody here have a question? We can start with people here at the church.
And I'll repeat them if we need to.
When you say that,
I'll repeat it. If you have a question, you can either speak loudly and I'll repeat it, or you can come up and,
you mentioned that there are organizations that just foster or train people in transformational activities.
yes.
How do we connect with those?
Well, again, if, on the clipboard,
So in other words,
if you
these-
picked one of them,
But it looks like these are specific things going for like climate change.
right, but you could learn the skills and bring them back. It's like they're applicable to any range of issues.
And can you give us a sense of what the time commitment is for that?
Right, well, okay, so the question is what the time commitment is. I mean, it might be different for different organizations. The one I'm coaching right now, the United Church of Christ Climate Hope Affiliates, they have 2 meetings a month. One is a nationwide webinar. Actually, their guest speaker is the volunteer around the hike with the 25 volunteers with the senator. That's this Saturday. But so it's that monthly webinar, and then another one to either plan for the meeting with the member of Congress or to write letters to the editor together or to plan a tabling event or to different actions that they're taking. But each month they're writing a letter or to the editor or to Congress or on a specific bill in Congress or an appropriation. So they're trying to drive something to a finish line. But the bottom line is going to one of those groups, learning and bringing it back is the thing that I'd recommend. Is that helpful?
Yeah, so in terms of like just the nuts and bolts, like you said that they're writing a letter, does that mean that the group is sort of writing a letter and then have these signatories at the end of it? Is that what?
No, it's usually a personal letter. It's not a pre-written letter. They learn a thing called a laser talk. There's a quick learning exercise to learn a little piece. For example, one of the issues is the appropriation. I may have this off a little because I'm more on the empowerment than on the actual issue. But there's one of these appropriations on climate or environment where President Trump asked for a 55% cut. I don't know if it's EPA or an environmental issue. And the House asked for a 23% cut. And the Senate asked for a 5% cut. So when the House and Senate go to conference, they're lobbying to get the House to take the Senate's more minimal cut in this environmental area. So they're working on specific things, bills and the like, in this case, appropriations. That's helpful, yeah.
We'll go on to the next. We have a question from our Zoom participants.
You want to
Joan-
come up here and read?
Joan asks, I think this will pick up.
Okay, good.
Joan asks, how can we apply transformational advocacy with legislators who are not even willing to have town halls? Or when the executive branch is expropriating the power of the purse from a Congress in which many are simply enabling rule by executive order?
Yeah. Okay, great question. Why didn't you come? That's a great question. Okay, so let's say the first one. My member is not even having town hall meetings. Okay, so let me give you a couple of ideas of how I would coach a group in that scenario. I would have the group go to the member of Congress's website and go to their news releases. The news releases are all the things they've done that they're proud of, kind of thing. And I look to find one thing that they've done that they're proud of that you actually like, and write letters to the editor thanking the representative for their leadership on X and hoping they can bring that same kind of leadership to whatever our issue is, climate or peace or, Gaza or whatever the issue is that the group's working on. So, so that's one example. Another example, where did they come from? Who are the key stakeholders? I mean, what church do they go to? Who's their pastor? Who's the largest or second largest employer in the congressional district? Did they come from the state legislature? Is there another state legislator that you could get to know that could help you get a door open? The bottom line is, you're looking for all manner of ways to get your foot in the door. Anyway, okay. So the second, I don't know the exact phrasing, but it was about an executive branch who was doing everything by executive order and ignoring the legislative branch. I was just giving examples of that a moment ago. Give me a second. I just want to turn this off. Okay, sorry. Again, when I show that maternal and child health is $915 million this year, and President Trump asked for $85 million for next year, and the House Appropriations Committee approved $915 million. That's an example of, I've been actually waiting for transformational advocacy to work this year. And those are the first glimmers of that kind of thing happening. Again, is that a small example of the House Appropriations Committee members getting a backbone? I mean, what would you attribute it to? But I didn't mention this part earlier. 2 House Republicans and 2 House Democrats got 128. I told about the other letter with 160. Got 128 of their House members to sign one letter to the chairs and ranking member on the Appropriations Subcommittee. So, like I said at the beginning of my talk, protesting is really, really important. But we also need some people going inside. And so this was inside. This was not negating the outside. It's just promoting going inside. I'll tell a story, and we have another question, or is our next one from me? Who has a question? Okay, who are you picking on? Okay, do you want to come over here and speak into the mic? Watch your step if you're coming up. It's right here. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ben, for those of you that don't know me, and my question would be, I often, I think like so many people, I vacillate between despair and hope, and many people are saying, what can I do?
Where are you tonight? Never mind, go ahead.
I mean, let's see what happens, I don't know, but yes, I do think this is hopeful,
Okay.
but the news is just relentless every day, like yesterday, on and on. I won't go into detail, but, dismantling maybe 100 years of progress in 6 months, so on and on. Anyways, what would you recommend that someone do to try to influence what's going on? That are you saying, I think I've seen that they say like one phone call equals, 200 emails, or it sounds like the more direct, the better.
Okay, yeah. So it's interesting. I actually, before coming here, I met with the ethicist at the New York Times, and we were talking about the same exact thing, in a sense, vacillating between despairing and hopeful kind of thing. And the point that I was making, and I would make here, is I turn off the news a lot, but I don't turn it off and then go to nothing. There's a difference between turning it off and going to nothing, or turning it off and trying to get the members of the House to accept the Senate's number on the Environment Protection Agency or whatever, or trying to get the Senate to match or exceed the House's number on the Global Fund to fight, whatever your issue is. And so I want to make the distinction between turning it off and turning to nothing, and turning it off and turning to action. And I'm going to tell another. I met by email this Stanford professor, Jamil Zaki is his name. And he had this book come out last year. I'm going to say the title twice because I like it so much. The title of his book is Hope for Cynics, The Surprising Science of Human Goodness. Now, you might deny the science, but it's the science. Hope for Cynics, The Surprising Science of Human Goodness. That's the title of the book. And in the book, he says, if you're cynical, it's like you're playing poker and you fold your hand before the game even starts. And I say, if you're a civic cynic, and you wouldn't be here if you were a civic cynic, if you're a civic cynic, you fold your hand before the first bill is introduced, before the Congress is even sworn in. So I think that's really instructive for all of us. Let's go to, do we have one more from online? Do we have come up front, whoever it is, who's coming up? And watch your step right there. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Candida. I am a longtime resident here of Forest Hills. So thank you for the inspiration tonight. But my question is based on the saying that you have on the end of the presentation. So you're saying that you want to burn, right, the torch as brightly as possible, as long as you can, so that you can pass it on to the new generation. So what can we do? Every voice matters, but what can we do in order to get the young generation? Because this is going to be their problems and their issues.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, good. Anyone want to answer it from the second row? Anyway, so the group, it was about 10 years ago, I was doing a workshop and I had the head of Citizens Climate Lobby at the time speak, and someone asked him about young people. And he said, yeah, well, we have a lot of youth in our organization. For us, youth is anyone under 64. But the point is, they and a lot of these other groups have gone a long way to have special programs. Results has the Results Fellows program, which is a 1-year cohort, and they come to Washington and they're on, I think, twice a month on a training seminar and the like. A lot of these different groups are working hard to find ways to bring young people on board. I mean, it's like the whole thing about meaning and purpose and knowing your why and sharing it. It's not like older people need it and younger people don't need it. I mean, there's not been the kind of depression and anxiety as it's been now compared to 20 years ago. My daughter's 24 and she's a therapist, and her clients are primarily between the ages of 3 and 10, with some teens and some young adults, but the bulk are 3 to 10 years old. You have to talk to young people is part of the answer, and you have to have something that's welcoming, inviting, and really the whole gig is getting into action. That's where it starts paying off. Do we have no questions on? Say it louder.
Social media, that's how you reach young people.
Well, you can reach young people by social media, but if you keep it there, you're just cutting people's brains off. You got to get face to face with your member of Congress. You got to get face to face with the editorial writer. You got to get face to face with writing that letter to the editor. You got to get in the real world of it all and not this kind of online fantasy land. Reach them there, but don't stay there. because it's never going to work, because that's not, it's like, I was on a panel with the head of the Congressional Management Foundation. She said, there are all these AI letters going to Congress, and then these AI letters coming back from Congress. Knock it off. This is not AI. This is human, personal, face to face. So, that's where the advantage will be to get real and in person with these folks. Yes. Who's next? Come up here. Watch your step. Mets?
That's why I like.
What, is this a Mets neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay.
It
is Queens.
The woman holding Ted Cruz's hands.
Yes.
And holding him there. I thought that was brilliant.
Yes.
Forcing him.
Before this question from the Mets, a representative from the Mets, my son has been for 6 years doing analytics and player development for the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think we're a game and a half back from you guys. Moneyball kind of stuff. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, indeed. There's a very heated
You
wild
have to
card
believe.
race. So my name is Maria Kelfer, and I'm a longtime resident of Forest Hills. It's more of a comment than a question that I have, because I think I know what Dr. Ida was asking. And that is, how do you acquire the skill sets in order to be able to advocate, to do transformational advocacy? And I would suggest that, like you said, it is all about action. There are existing organizations. Organizing is organizing in advocacy. And for example, Working Families Party has been around for about 26 years. If you wanted to do electoral and political advocacy, and I just went to a resistance lab that Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, she was the presenter, and and there were a couple of other people there presenting as well that talked about resistance and what does it look like, and that it's an ongoing process, because as tactics change, you have to respond. But say that you cared about healthcare, and in New York State, given what's happening with federal cuts, there's a campaign for New York Health to pass the New York Health Act. That's been ongoing, but we have to amp it up. And there is an organization headed by Melanie DeRico, who's executive director of the Campaign for New York Health. And they know how to organize. They have spreadsheets. Who is your assembly member? Who's your state senator? Who's your city council member? It's really on the state level. But, where there's a phone tree and you call them, and there are meetings that are organized with people that have been co-sponsored. Because I'm a survivor of traffic violence from a year and a half ago. I've started organizing with Families for Safe Streets. They provide support to each person, but also there's an advocacy arm. And they, along with transportation alternatives, I love Lobby Day, like what you were saying, where they know how to do this. So whatever you care about, there are existing organizations with lots of experience and an infrastructure. And once you go, you learn. And you're important because you have elected representatives that you have to go and lobby, that you have to go and speak with. And, I've become a little more familiar just by doing it. And you have support, you have other people. And each person can speak in their own way and really be effective. So it's just getting out there and not feeling, don't feel you have to be an expert, or it's not about that. We're all in this together, and there are people starting out and there are people much more advanced, and it's really lovely, and people support each other. So it's just, whatever you want to do, seek out. I mean, you've given us some good organizations, but there are plenty of organizations and plenty of causes. If you wanted to, they said they will also do virtual resistance labs as well as in person. We could organize something like that. They were talking about a watch party or a way to tune in, and I can help facilitate that too. So thank you.
Brilliant. Great. Thanks. Could I ask where the sign up clipboard is over there? Okay, it's all done. You can bring it up. Where the clipboard is over here? Is it moving along, or? I just want to make sure it doesn't stop somewhere and not get to the back. I did a talk in Denver last month, and there was 78 people there, and it didn't get to the back, so I wanted to make sure it just gets where it needs to get. So let me say another thing. I brought a small number of paperback books that I've got for $20 each. All the royalties go to Results, and I consign them. I just have 6. FYI, it's also on Amazon in hardback at an 81% discount for $6.40, but I can't sign it. So you pick paperback for 20, hardback for $6.40. You decide. I'm a good salesman, right? Okay, any other questions? Because I think we'll stop so that we have time to sign and don't.
I don't have to get up. I was like, it kind of goes back to before we were talking about having these young people, and I just wanted to offer that as a mom of 2 teenagers. I think it's important that we make the message quick and simple and clear. They're just not used to, they don't have the patience or the attention span for, a lot of collaboration. That's all it was.
Yeah, I would test that. A gazillion don't have the patience or attention span.
Oh my God, that's cringe. Oh my God, nobody's going to read that.
Okay. Okay, you're allowed one more question. Watch your step. Come up.
How do you deal with money?
How do you deal with money? Meaning, first of all, there's Results was a 501c4 from 1981, which is not tax deductible if you give money. And there's Results Ed Fund, for example, which is tax deductible. But the bottom line is, how do you deal with money is you ask for money, meaning if you're getting value out of being in this chapter, if you blew your own mind by meeting with your congressional aide, they started a United Church of Christ chapter in New Hampshire 4 months ago, and the chapters met every month with this climate aid, and the 4th meeting, the climate aid's going to law school, so brought another aide in to move it along. If you feel like you're getting value, then you want the thing to thrive, and you want the thing to succeed, and you ask. And in terms of, let's talk democracy and transformational advocacy, you want to decide, are we an educational group with talks and such? Great. You could decide and add some action. Or are we a registration, voter registration? Great. Desperately needed. Are we inform people about the elections? Great. But if you're going to take an action, as in lobbying or legislative type action, I really urge you to focus. Not do this month and a different one this much and another one this month. Then people can't get facile with it and write a letter to the editor about it because, we just changed to another, but rather focus and stay with something, have guest speakers on that or whatever, so people can get the value out of it. I'm going to close. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if you want to learn about money, find somebody who leads a house of worship. They ask for money every week.
Yeah. I'm going to close with a quote. Oh, go for it.
How do you get past the staff?
How do you get past the staff member? Well, part of what? Yeah. Well, part of how you get past the staff member is to demonstrate to the staff member that these people know their business, they know what they're up to, they have a valuable contribution to make. They're not just talking to me, they're talking to the community in letters to the editor or op-eds. They're enrolling community leaders to come to the meeting, so they're kind of widening their pull, and it would be worth the members' while to meet with them. I mean, in simple terms, yeah. Do you want to come up here? Yeah. Watch your step. Introduce yourself.
My name is John Zanzel. I'm a local person here, but last year I got wind of a little memorandum that was tucked into that ugly bill that the GOP that said that they wanted to prevent federal judges from issuing injunctions. And I followed it closely in the news because I had the numbers. It was memorandum 70302. I was able to trace it, and it went into the Senate, and the the parliamentarian of the Senate was able to bring it before them as it was not a part of the budget.
Removed it.
Well, there's a new one. It's called the NORA, and I believe it's HR 1526, and it does the same thing. It says if it passes the Senate, then they can block federal judges from issuing injunctions, stopping illegal, unconstitutional things until at least sometime the immediate relief of that change because of some action. So I'm speaking tonight to ask anyone to look up NORA. It means rogue judges are doing these things to us. They're superseding the president's authority or something. And if you get a chance, oppose it.
Yeah, great. And I just want to underscore, and we're going to stop now. I'm going to just close with a quote. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to close with a quote, but I do want to stress, if you take on a particular issue, that you focus and you don't do this one and this one and this one and this one, because people's brains will spin and won't have the depth that we need. This is the longer version of the Alex Steffen quote. I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to sit over there and make books available, sell them $20 royalty to Results, and sign them. You can get them a lot cheaper on Amazon and hardback. The quote begins, "Optimism is a political act. Those who benefit from the status quo are perfectly happy with a large population of people who believe nothing will get any better. In fact, these days, cynicism is obedience. What's really radical is being willing to look right at the magnitude and difficulty of the problems we face and still insist we can solve those problems." End of quote. Optimism is a political act. Those who benefit from the status quo are perfectly happy with a large population of people who believe nothing will get any better. In fact, these days, cynicism is obedience. What's really radical is being willing to look right at the magnitude and difficulty of the problems we face and still insist we can solve those problems. End of quote. I am grateful to Jonathan for recommending that Ida invite me. I'm grateful to Ida and the team, Michelle and Pastor Jeff and the whole Let's Talk Democracy team and everyone who's come here in person and online. It's been a real thrill to be with all of you, and good night.